Hello and welcome to a new video. In today's video I will be trying out the Simptap acrylic marker set from Arrtx. Like the other markers I've been trying from them, they are acrylic. Arrtx kindly sent me these to try out, so that is what we will be doing in today's video. This is the set of 24 saturated colours. They are slightly different from the other pump pens from Arrtx. You pump the end of the pen that doesn't have the nib, which I thought would be a really interesting thing to try out. So as you can see, the instructions are on the pen itself, and the pen comes with a brush nib, which I always love on these kinds of pens. It works quite simple. All you need to do is press down the other end of the pen and it kind of like breaks a sort of seal in the pen, and then the paint runs down through the nib. I then also had trouble with this pen in particular, which is the J005. For some reason, no matter how much I tried, I just could not get the seal to break. When I pushed the end down, it just would not come out. So initially I actually gave up on that pen, so I went through and did the rest of the other pens instead. The others, they all worked perfectly. There were a couple that the nibs just would not get saturated. I showed you with the brown pen how it actually works, which is actually quite interesting to watch. But yeah, it doesn't always completely saturate it. Initially I thought the like novelty of the pen of pumping the other end would be like really fun, but I'm not gonna lie, it really killed my thumb by the end of this. You probably saw in the swatches that I did manage to get this one working. Well, my brother did. I had to get my brother in, and it took him a couple tries as well, but he managed to break the seal on the pen, so it actually started working. But it was a little off-putting how difficult that was, but it's working now. On to the sketchbook. For this video, I didn't really know what to do. It has a limited colour palette compared to the other sets of pens that you can get from Arrtx, so I just didn't really know what to do. My brain was not working. So I went to Instagram and I asked you guys, what birds or plants would you like to see? What should I draw? And I got so many suggestions. You guys are so good with stuff like that, and I always hugely appreciate it. I got a lot of good suggestions, and I just picked a couple of you guys to do the prompts for, the ones that I felt would like suit the color palette that I had. So initially I just started by sketching out this one page. I hadn't decided yet if I was going to do a double page spread because, like I mentioned, for some reason my brain just was not focused, so it was quite difficult figuring out what I wanted to do. But yeah, I planned out this page before colouring it in, and it helps me focus if I have a plan. Sketching it out first just makes it so much easier. And I did a nice variety of plants. By the end of this, yeah, it's mostly just plants with two birds, but I really like how it looks. Starting with this bird here, it is a golden pheasant. It is a golden pheasant. This was suggested by Coffee Bean, thank you so much. She actually suggested the two plants around the golden pheasant as well, which is the Mammy Red and the Venus Flytrap, and they just go so well together, so thank you so much, because that was really satisfying to just see these three separate things come together so nicely. A lot of you actually suggested Venus Flytraps as well, which is another reason why I wanted to include it, because it just seemed to be a popular choice. The colours that I had seemed perfect for the golden pheasant. Like, it was almost weirdly perfect. It was crazy. I just started with the simple colours, and then moving on to the crow. I wasn't entirely sure how I was going to go about the crow initially, because, you know, they are a black bird. So I just decided to really exaggerate the colours in the picture I used for reference, and yeah, I just exaggerated them a bit, and then after adding all the colours I decided to go in and add the black. And I think the way I did it, I do think it worked. Having a lot of black made it look like these colours were just highlights in the feathers, like glossy colour sheens. I don't know how to word it. Also, at this point I was thinking that I like these pens as a base, but I was struggling to finesse everything, if that makes sense. So I had decided by this point that I was probably going to go in later and add some coloured pencil to add like the final definitions and just neaten everything up a bit, which is why I then decided to go quite loose with the pens and keep everything like in colour blocks, which again also helped me with my brain. So yeah, that's what I did, and I'm very happy with how the crow turned out, because initially the colours were looking kind of funky, but with the black it just made it all work perfectly. The colour that I then used, which is actually the J005 for the highlights on the crow at the end, for some reason it just came out in a really big blob, so now the crow looks like it has like bird poop on its head, which I do fix, but it was just kind of funny. It just looked like it had like a pancake or something. The red spider lilies were quite fun to draw. I realised that I've never drawn them before, so it was quite interesting to figure that out. And then also Lily of the Valley was suggested, which I was, as soon as I saw that, I was like, yes, I'm absolutely going to be drawing that one because I love Lily of the Valley. I don't know if it's just because of Animal Crossing, but I know that that is a huge contribution for it. They are just such a cute plant, and I drew them kind of separate to how I drew everything else on the page, like in a very simple cutesy style that almost made me wish I'd drawn everything else in that kind of way, but I didn't. And then with the Venus flytraps, I didn't know how to include them in a way where it looked like they weren't just randomly poking out, so when I went in to add the colour, I decided to use a darker colour in the background to just kind of allude that there were more there without actually drawing more. And I think that really helped because it also grounded the colours of the Venus flytrap, and like I said, it made it look like there was like an actual bunch of them. And then for the wisteria, I tried to mix the paints a little bit so that they created a sort of mid-tone between the two colours, and it kind of worked, but it also, the paints just weren't runny enough for some reason to get the perfect blend I wanted. Pressing on the button at the end of the pen, sometimes it felt like it did something and sometimes it felt like it just did nothing at all. I was feeling like the page was kind of random and all over the place at this point, so I tried to add a little bit of a background. I wanted to use the gold behind the wisteria and then spread it out a little bit from there. I do kind of like how that looks. It definitely needed something to join it all together, but it also looks kind of random. The whole page is pretty random, to be fair. So yeah, like I mentioned, I wanted to add some coloured pencils, so I got the Arrtx coloured pencils out for this one because these ones work really well. I think they must be like a soft lead or something because they work really well over the paints from Arrtx markers, and the colours just were very... It was nice to have such a range of colours that I could use with the colours from the paint pens. They complemented each other very well and they just worked really well together. And I used them to add more definition, more shading and outlining everything so that it actually stood out a little better. And once I did this, especially with the black pencil, I was feeling so much better about this piece and I decided to just have fun with it. It was looking like a messy page, so I was like, I'm just gonna give into it and just start messing around a little bit. I'll add the definition that certain things need and outline them, but if it's messy, it doesn't matter. It's gonna be a fun page, you know, for just messing around. So once I changed my mindset to that, I actually started having a lot more fun with this page, and everything was just starting to come together in a way that I was getting happy with. So yeah, I think adding the pencils was a really good choice. I didn't just use straight black pencils for adding outlining and stuff because I wanted this piece to keep its colourfulness. I, for some things, used just darker versions of the whatever I was drawing at the time. So with the crow I used like a dark purple blue, and then with the spider lilies I used a dark red and then a purple on the background part, which also helped create a bit more depth. I think it like helped it make it look a bit more 3D. I don't know, but it helped you, I think it does, you can tell that it's supposed to look layered. And then because the lily of the valley plant looked quite different, like I mentioned, to the rest of the pieces on the page, I decided to keep it really soft. So I outlined the foreground ones with this like peachy pink, and then the background ones with a lighter purple thing. And I didn't even bother outlining the stalk of it, and I think it just created such a cute little section that I'm really happy with. I think that bit down there looks really like dreamy almost. And then I just did the same for the rest of the plants, just outlining them. The wisteria needed a lot of definition, like it really needed the pencil more than anything else on the page, I think. So yeah, that came together quite nicely. And then yeah, like I said, I decided to have fun and go messy with the page, so I added a bunch of like little extras to try and give it a sort of like graphic pop, I guess. I don't know what you'd call it, but I really like it more now that I've added that. It is such a mess of a page, but I think I kind of like it. Yeah, as you can see, I decided not to do any more though because of how messy it was. I was like, if I do a double page spread, I don't think I'm gonna like it. Whereas at least right now, it is sort of organized in a way that seems deliberate. So I have this part of the page left that I don't know, I'll probably fill in at some later date. I'm not really sure what with. I'm really happy that I stopped where I did because I quite like how this looks. Again, it's a mess, but I think that kind of sums me up quite well, so I don't mind. Thank you guys so much for your suggestions. It really helped. I liked just throwing everything on the page, and I really appreciate it. Like I mentioned, I don't know how I feel about the pressing this down. It's kind of like hard to press. Like, I don't know why I expected it to be more of like a simple button press, but it does have like some resistance, which yeah, if you're doing lots of it, for me it hurt my thumb. But yeah, maybe if you have stronger thumbs it'll be fine. But yes, it was interesting. Thank you so much if you made it this far in the video. I think this one's quite a short one. Thank you so much to Arrtx for letting me try out these pens. And I want to say a huge thank you to my Patreons: Disby, Megan Palmer, Grimclow, The Waffle of Life, Non-Toxic, Saint Nick's, LP, Kira May, Kay, Joanna, Sir Studalot, Mila, VB, Pretty Rotten, Crescent Frog, Joanna Snake Moon, Humble Frogs, Local Fishkeeper, Mould Ghoul, Art Mancy, Farrar Ware, Sun Arts, Molly Marula, Hannah Anderson, Sammy Bear 127, Kenzania, Jade S, Arrow, Charlie, Malorus, Ghosty, Jess H30, Cindy King, Vlada, Art by Lavender, A Woodsy, Rainbow Tea, Breaded Nuggets, Neva Thorpe, Ivy, Lindsay, Humani, The Mothbug, Knox, Thresher, Catbird House, The Tormented Shadow, Sweet and Hopeless, Pocket, Cool Desert 525, Misfit, Jordan's Tiny Planet, Cheesy Rosebud, The Coffee Rain, and Black Jackal Art. Thank you guys so much, and this video I believe should be coming out on the 26th, so tomorrow I believe I will be announcing the winner for last week's giveaway, so keep an eye out for that. And yeah, I just want to say thanks again. Hopefully I'll have a new video out for you soon.